guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Lauren. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. It is the first Scent Sunday video of the new year. I am excited. Amateur Scent Hour is back. I know I've missed a couple of weeks, but I'm really excited to be back doing Sunday scent videos. And today I'm going to be talking about notes that I like and some notes that I don't like. I decided to narrow it down to 6 in each category, and by no means is this an exhaustive or all-inclusive list. I probably have enough on either side to do another one, so of course let me know if you want to do that. But something that I've been really trying to hone in on is like what notes I really enjoy and which ones I don't, which help me when I'm looking at fragrance notes and accords and whatnot online, things I haven't smelled before, when I'm trying to understand what I actually like. And I've noticed some of these things I'm changing on a little bit, so I'll talk about all of that. But it's definitely this fun thing for me to try to pinpoint things out if I can in scents, to figure out why I like certain scents or combinations and all of that. Like, I just think it's super fun. So I'm going to start with these scents that I don't enjoy the most first. And of course, if these are some of your favorite notes, I'm really happy for you. Scent is so individual. How things smell to everyone is so different. How things like interact with your body chemistry is also so different. So, you know, don't get offended. You might freaking hate one of my favorite scents, and it's just how it goes. And I think that's one of the exciting things about scent, is that it is so different for everyone out there. And I love hearing everyone's like explanation of why they like it. Maybe it's tied to a memory. Maybe they didn't used to like it, but now do. Like, I love it. I think it's so fun. So let's get started. My number one. I knew I didn't like this one from the beginning of my scent journey. And although I'm learning, there are cases and ways, and I think as I continue my scent journey, I'm gonna like this maybe more and more. But patchouli is it's a rough one for me, okay? And I think everyone kind of knows, like, you're either into patchouli or you aren't. I don't know what it is about patchouli. There's something about it that's kind of spicy and kind of stinky. It's just offensive. Like, I know what it smells like when I smell it. Usually, I just don't particularly love it, especially when a fragrance is patchouli heavy. When I'm seeing like a fragrance and in the top of the accords, like on Fragrantica, if one of the top accords is patchouli, like meaning you're smelling that patchouli, I know it's probably not going to be a good one for me. Now, I will say I have some fragrances that I actually do love that have patchouli in them, and even have a more prominent note of patchouli. So it's not an all thing, but it's a most thing, right? And it's just rough. I would say probably one of the worst offenders of why I hate, like the best example of why I don't like patchouli. So again, sorry if you love this. From Gallagher Fragrances, I got a few samples to try from them because I was really excited to try Wicked Good, I think it is, and just also more stuff from a line I've never tried anything from. I'm like, already, should I spray this? Should I start the video off this way? Should I just, you know, make my whole room smell like this? But here we go. Here we go. This one's called Behold Patchouli. Oh man, it is floral and kind of green, I guess. Like, it smells like plant life, but it also smells like dirt to me. It's kind of like incensey in a way too. Like, it reminds me of incenses, but it also, I'm sorry, but I just find patchouli easily turns into like cat pee territory. It's just, it smells like a product that's gone off to me. Like, especially in this one, like especially in this, I'm like, oh yeah, that's patchouli. Like, it's like helping me like recognize patchouli. I'm beholding the patchouli. Not for me. Like, at least I'm at the point where I can smell it. And honestly, I built it up that this was gonna smell even worse than smelling it, like my memory of it. But it's just one that I do not want on my skin. No, no. Oh no. Not for me, for sure. Patchouli's a tough one. I thought though in this video where I could, I would give examples of things that I did like that maybe had a note I don't like, or vice versa, whatever. I think the best example of me, I can see an inroad for me at some point liking some things with patchouli, right? Is this Majestic Woods from Juicy Couture. I talk about it a lot. It's been in a lot of my scent videos, but this has a prompt, like you can smell that this has patchouli even when you smell it. It's not like the patchouli is hidden in this scent. Although Fragrantica does not note patchouli on their notes list, it says it on the Juicy Couture website, so I don't know why they didn't put it on. Anyway, this also has like an amber note, it has vanilla, it has wood notes, like all those other things in there are things I do really enjoy. And I find that they mix with the patchouli really well. And instead of the patchouli completely taking over, although it's still in this fragrance, I'm getting warmth and I'm getting sweetness and I'm getting those woodsy notes. And the patchouli to me is just adding a bit of depth, a bit of sexiness. Like I do get that fragrances that have patchouli in there tend to be sexier. They tend to be stronger fragrances. And that is something that I can appreciate in a fragrance now that I'm getting into them, because if you're gonna buy a fragrance, you do want it to last. And I do find that all my scents that have that patchouli base are gonna last a lot longer. But for a long time, I wasn't even into scents like that because I wanted something airy and light. I used to only really like things like Jo Malone, Atelier, Cologne, like those types of fragrance houses. That was the only thing I really was into before I got into like this whole scent journey. And so now that I'm like learning to appreciate things, my nose is changing a bit. I feel like as I smell more things, less things seem foreign to my nose, which helps me kind of get past the foreign newness of it and start actually understanding if I enjoy it or not, instead of just feeling accosted, you know? So I think there's an inroad for me in patchouli at some point, but it's still rough. And things that are like heavily patchouli, mostly patchouli, behold patchouli, it's rough. I did want to give a quick shout out though to Mancera's Instant Crush. This is another one that I do think you can smell the patchouli in here as well, but I think with all the other scents, it works really well. It has like a saffron note. It has like a burnt quality to it. It's sweet though. It does smell kind of perfumey, and I can smell patchouli in here. Like I can tell that it's in here. It's still not so prominent that it's like taking over everything else, and I think it just adds to a nice concoction and combination without being too much of the star of the show or going too like sour. Gross to me. In my nose anyway. So first I wanted to talk about patchouli because it really is my ¡1 offender and probably the most common note. I mean, it's either a patchouli fragrance or not. Like I don't know, a lot of stuff has patchouli in it, let me tell you. Oh my gosh, that Majestic Woods is so good and so sexy. Anyway, okay, moving on. Next on my list is Tuberose. Tuberose is another one that I find just kind of goes a little sour. It just is too floral. I really am noticing that in terms of like fragrance categories, florals are not really for me. Maybe like a powdery, more purple floral like a violet or iris I could do, and I do enjoy those, but florals can be a little bit rough. Same with like full-on fruity cocktails of perfumes. Not gonna be my faves, they're not. So one of the fragrances that definitely lets me know I don't love Tuberose, I sprayed the wrong one. That's the one that's like, ooh, I like that Tuberose. But that is Gucci Bloom. This has heavy white florals and heavy tuberose in it. Those are like the top 2 accords in this fragrance. And although I can understand someone else wearing this, I could see myself, I talk about this a lot, like hugging someone who smells like this. It's definitely not for me. It's a little too clean. And just of all the flowers, I usually can tell like tuberose is just not the one for me. So I stick away from any fragrance that has tuberose as like a main accord in it. It's not that I could never like a tuberose fragrance, but if I'm gonna go tuberose, I'm learning something like Giorgio Armani's My Way is really great. Is really good. And I'm sitting here like, you're telling me this is like mainly tuberose? Like what? When you look up the notes on, or when I do, I don't know what you do, but when I look up the notes of My Way, I'm like, it says white floral tuberose, main accords, then citrus, animalic powdery. Okay, that sounds scary. If I see white at the top of my Fragrantica accords, I'm getting out of there. I'm getting the hell out of there. But the top notes, orange blossom, bergamot, and then middle notes, tuberose, Indian jasmine. Then we have Madagascar vanilla, white musk, and Virginian cedar. That musk, vanilla, and bergamot like save this. They like somehow make this sweet. And when people talk about a bubblegummy tuberose, this is it. And I'm like, yeah, I smell something kind of bubblegummy and sweet and light and not overly floral. Like obviously there are florals in here, but I don't get something too clean or too powdery or too mature, I guess, smelling. This is youthful and summery and sunshine, and something's kind of tart in there. I think it might be that musk mixed with the citruses as well, and then that vanilla's adding some sweetness. It is shocking. I would never guess this fragrance to smell like it does looking at the notes, and so again, it gives me a little bit of hope that there are some tuberoses out there mixed with certain scents in certain ways that will work for me, because my way is an example of a tuberose that I not only can like tolerate, but like enjoy, like genuinely enjoy. Okay, I'm really glad I like kept this to only 6 in each category, because this is going to be a long video, I already know. Okay, I think the next ones are going to be a bit shorter, but next note that I don't enjoy in a fragrance specifically is watermelon. I love the idea of a watermelon note. I think it sounds so summery and juicy. I mean, who doesn't love just chowing down on a watermelon? Although I'm a little bit allergic, so I try to stay away because my mouth will get itchy. Anyway, I love the fantasy of a watermelon note and kind of what that imagery entails, and kind of, you know, the time of year you would be enjoying watermelon, all the things, the fantasy of the watermelon note. But the reality is, to me, watermelon, and even real life watermelon, so even the most like authentically watermelon smells come off across like a little stinky to me. Watermelon has a stinky note. Please tell me if you understand what I'm talking about here. This is a fragrance from Philosophy, and I bought this because it was tropical and coconut, and I don't know why I didn't see that had a watermelon juice note, but I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, it does have it. And even like watermelon lemonade from Bath & Body Works, I know a lot of people love that candle, and I always am just like, this kind of stinks. Like every time I smell it, watermelon, especially a more authentic-y watermelon, does not come across well to me. The watermelon that I can handle is like Jolly Rancher watermelon. I can get down with that, like something quite sweet, but to me that's quite artificial and not actually capturing a real watermelon, because even like kind of that rind can be a little bit stinky. I think there's something about the way, you know, the sugars are maturing and getting kind of stinky. You know how sometimes if you go into a supermarket and, you know, the fruit is really ripening, it can kind of smell a little stinky. Like I get that from watermelon a lot of the time. So I got to be careful about the watermelon for sure, and not buy into the fantasy too much of what I hope it smells like, because for me, it always reads a little too stinky. Similarly, something I've always never enjoyed is the smell of honey. So I definitely have to be careful about honey fragrances, especially ones that are smelling more like true raw, like kind of animalic honey. I can remember we would take like school trips to farms and stuff, and you could get those honey sticks for like $1, and I always was just like, get away from me. Like I don't love the taste of honey, and I do not like the smell. Again, it smells stinky to me. I don't really like to use honey in my tea. Like I never like to get too up close with honey. I can eat it in certain things when it's like an ingredient that's helping to make a sauce or something, but if something is honey heavy, definitely not my thing. I'm not gonna be eating honeycomb. There's just something about it. I feel like fragrances that have honey but then have strong like vanilla and sugar and other notes where that's not the main thing could still work out for me. But something like Ellis Brooklyn's Bee as an example of a honey scent. So if you like honey, try this one out because you might really enjoy this. But it's just a little bit too honey-y for me, for sure. I mean, the whole thing's called bee. That's what they're going for. I get why people would like this, and like my husband loves honey, so I get that people like it, but there's something about honey, I think it's because it's also, you can smell like the flowers that go into making this sweet honey byproduct, and I'm not a fan of the way that that smells on its own. I don't want that on my body. I don't want that really anywhere near me, so I stick away from honey overall, especially if it's like a top, you know, main feature of it, and especially when it's more like raw and authentic smelling. But I know a lot of you guys really like Bee by Ellis Brooklyn, and I wish I liked it because it's like one of those kind of gourmand, but it's not my thing. Next, number 5 on my list are yellow florals, and we're attacking another floral group right now. No, I am learning I don't really love yellow florals either. I was hoping that maybe it was just like some of those really strong and potent white florals, although jasmine seems to be one that I do enjoy. But with yellow florals, where I really feel like I come in contact with these in fragrances and I'm learning I don't like them is in tropical fragrances. I feel like those yellow florals tend to be paired with like coconut and these kind of like beachy scents, and I'm just learning that I'm not really into them. I stick away, and I can tell usually because coconut's such a sucker of a note for me. I love coconut, but not all coconut is created equal, and I'm learning that on my journey that just because it has coconut in it is not a safe buy. It is not something that I might like, especially if it's paired with like marine notes and yellow florals. It's probably not going to be the right coconut scent, whereas if it was a coconut paired with whipped cream and sandalwood and maybe something fig, now that might be something I'd enjoy. So yeah, yellow florals, not necessarily right for me. And last in my kind of notes, I mean, I don't hate this note, but it's definitely a note that if it's in a fragrance, I gotta kind of be careful, or I'm just noticing it plays odd on my nose, and this is a salt note. And I want so badly to be someone who like loves a salt note. I don't know why that is, like what that means, that I wish I loved salt just for that, but it's true. I wish I did. And really where I started noticing this is in Skylar's Salt Air. They sent me their whole collection. This is a very popular fragrance. Like a lot of people love Salt Air as well as Ellis Brooklyn's Salt, and I find both of these use salt and kind of are a similar fragrance to me. They're clean, and I get why people like it. It's just something like I think of this smell as a shape, and the shape is like just this kind of spike up and then down, like my nose is going on a ride. There's like a sharpness to it. It's just hard for me to like wrap my head around the salt note in a way that makes me love it. Like I just don't fall in love with a note that has salt in it like I do other fragrances. I tend to not smell a salt note in a fragrance and go, oh, love this, love, love, love. Instead, I'm like sitting there a little baffled, confused, trying to figure out what's going on instead of just falling madly in love. Like I said, Ellis Brooklyn's Salt is like that. And then one that I want so badly to like, because the bottle on this thing is beautiful and it's like a vanilla fragrance, but this is Paco Rabanne Olympia. The bottle, you guys, like I want this for the bottle, I'm not gonna lie. But I also smell that salt note in here. I smell that salt note in here, and there's something about it. It also smells quite perfumey to me as well. And I feel like with a lot of the salt notes, that also comes across, like it just kind of sticks to perfume and it doesn't get to something else, and I don't love that. So I tend to stick away from a salt note, or at least know that there's a pretty big possibility I might not like it, or it might be one I have to work to really like because of that note. Okay, now that the notes I kind of dislike or I'm wary of are over, let's talk about some of my favorites. By no means, like I said, is this like an all-inclusive list, and I didn't put some of the kind of easy ones like coconut and fig on here. I thought we could talk about something a little bit more, maybe some things I'm exploring and learning that I like that I maybe didn't realize I loved as much. So let's get into these. First on my list is Sandalwood. Now in general, I do love a woody note. So cedar, sandalwood, gaiac wood, even some ouds. Like I do love a woody scent. Instead of going floral, instead of going fruity, I tend to like something woody. I think probably one of the most popular and like famous, I guess, sandalwoods out there is Santal 33, but the sandalwood in here comes across a lot sharper. It also has a cardamom note, so it has like this spice to it. I really love this like unisex clean sandalwood. I find in the dry down on this, it really rounds out though. The sharpness and dryness that this fragrance has, like those edges kind of round out as it wears, and this kind of warmth is there. It just smells so good. Like I love this fragrance. I especially love it on Sam, but I also wear this fragrance and love it as well. But this is only one category of sandalwood. Another kind of sandalwood that I love is sandalwood paired with like coconut or fig or anything like that. I love like a pencil shaving kind of sandalwood. I love a creamy sandalwood. I find like pairing with lactonic notes, or sometimes just the way that the sandalwood comes across is definitely more creamy as opposed to dry, and I love when that happens as well. They're one of my favorite kind of sandalwood fragrances that has coconut. You guys know Juliet Has a Gun, Sunny Side Up. This also has ISOE Super in it, but I find that this, although it's still kind of a, I don't know, overall to me, it's like a dryish wood. There's something kind of creamy with the coconut in there and kind of warm, and definitely not as spicy, I guess, as like Santal 33. So I love sandalwood. I feel like sandalwood's in a ton of fragrances, but I definitely like seeing that in the base notes of fragrances. It definitely gives me a little bit of an indication that maybe, at least on that front, I should hopefully like it. Next, I want to talk about kind of a couple different notes in one, but anything that's kind of foresty, and I'm not talking about the wood necessarily here, but I'm more talking about the pine needles, the balsam fir, Peru balsam. Those kind of notes definitely get me excited. One of the newer fragrances to my collection, I have the Ellis Brooklyn Apres, and I think this smells so good. You definitely get a dry woody note from this, but this rich greenness that's coming from these forest trees, these like Christmas tree scents and like that type of stuff, gives this a green note, but there's something very cooling about it, especially in this one. It comes across that way. I really love that. I really love Cape Heartache, something like that, where you can smell, and like instead of this dry fall forest where the leaves are dying and you can smell like a dry dirt. Instead, I find that there's something really moist about this green scent, and the soil is rich and dark and again has like a moisture content to it. The trees themselves are not dying. Their leaves are not turning, you know, orange or brown, but instead are this rich, deep green. Like those types of scents I love. I believe there's a fir note in Baccarat Rouge. There's also a Peru balsam note in one of my favorites, By the Fireplace. I just find a lot of scents that I like tend to have that, and I find if I'm looking at the note section and it has a lot of these rich green foresty tree vibes, I tend to like it. I thought I would also shout out one more. This is one that I got to sample through Olfactive. It's a niche perfume subscription. I always have my link down below and you can save money with my code if you want. But this is A Walk in the Forest. This was in the December box, I believe, and it's from 41 to 60 Tuesdays. And this one does have like woody notes. I mean, the name itself says A Walk in the Forest, so that is something that's super exciting for me. I'm like, yes. And so I find even just names of perfumes that kind of give off that vibe I might like, or it'll be worth me sniffing. But some of the other notes in here are tree moss, absolute, Virginia cedar, musk. It doesn't have like necessarily balsam or any of that, but I think that tree moss is in there adding some depth. It has that woodiness. This almost comes off a little like pencil shavings, dry wood, but also I almost pick up something that could be figgy. I find like these kind of wooden notes with coconut and fig, they all can like, I don't know, they just smell similar and together, and I think that's why I like them all. But I thought I would just shout this one out because it's one of the ones I want to get next. Like, it's definitely on my list to get. All right, next on my list, we have to talk about vanilla. Used to be one of the most boring scents to me. I'm like, what? Like, what? Who cares about vanilla? But I do. I love vanilla now. And I'm talking about like straight up vanilla perfumes. I'm intrigued. I want to try them all. I definitely feel like I lean more toward a gourmand vanilla that leans like warm and gooey and has more of those notes accompanying the vanilla, as opposed to maybe like a florally vanilla. I will say that. I'd even like it to go more like wood and bourbon and like rich like that, instead of keeping it like airy. That's just something I've noticed, but you know, I have to shout out Skylar's Vanilla Sky. The more I have this, the more I use it, the more I smell also not only the vanilla, but that cappuccino note that's in here, and I find that's really quite unique compared to other vanillas. I also love that this has that cedar wood in it. It has a caramelized cedar note as well. It's just one of my favorites. It's a warmer vanilla. It is sweet and just so comforting, and obviously, I mean, my bottle's like almost halfway done. I love this. I love the candle of this. Like, one of my favorite vanillas for sure. I have a couple others that I loved. I'm sure you've heard about them if you've watched other videos, but I really want to get the Tahota. I think it's called Tahota vanilla. That one also smells quite divine. Like, it's very nice. So that one's on my list. I think I'm gonna do a wish list video. Like, I'll do a wish list of things I want to buy, like I know I want, but also a wish list of things I just want to smell. I think that might be fun, but let me know if you want to see that. But that's kind of it. I want to get my nose on like every vanilla. I want to smell every vanilla and see if it's going to be right for me. Okay, next is a leather note. I really enjoy a leather note. I'm bringing up my Midnight Ride because this is the most prominent leather note I have in my collection. And this is one that I'm just more on this new journey learning that I do really enjoy a leather note. The leather in here mixed with the sandalwood, mixed with like the woods that are coming in. It has like some smoky notes as well. Just really is a creamy, supple leather, like almost like that new car smell where the leather's nice and plush. It's not one of those hard leathers. Like, it's just very nice. It's quite strong though, but absolutely beautiful. Definitely one that keeps you nice and warm in the winter as well. I really love this. I also was introduced to this one through Olfactive, so I love that. And I definitely have just realized I like to smell other leathers. Another sample I just recently tried. This is Amber Suede from Precious Liquid. And this has, you know, that warmth of the amber, but also like a suede note to it. And I just really like it. I think like leathers pair really well with the wood notes, or if you want to go sweet with vanillas, it would be good. And again, I like all that stuff. So definitely leather is a note I look out for. I'm not like scared of. I enjoy it quite a bit, I feel like. And it's definitely worth me giving a fragrance a sniff because of it. Yeah, I like that Amber Suede one. It's pretty good. Next, we have a tea note. And I don't know if I'd like tea in every context, but I do have quite a few fragrances with tea that I do like. And I find that tea isn't super common. So it's always kind of exciting to find a fragrance with a tea note. The first one I want to bring up is Ellis Brooklyn's Sci-Fi. I feel like Ellis Brooklyn's like made its rounds in a sense I don't like and like. This is a vanilla and like green tea fragrance, and I really find that that makes this fragrance so unique. It like adds this brightness to the vanilla where it lifts it and it keeps it not too sweet or boring. This also has some citruses as well in it. It's a very, to me, a unique scent, and I really love the tea note in here. I really feel like this is strong citrus tea vanilla, and that's what I pick up on. It's a very beautiful fragrance. I highly suggest smelling this if you haven't. It's definitely like a good, to me, vanilla for summertime that's not too heavy. It's a little more energizing and exciting, and I don't know, makes me want to smile. Like that's like what I get from it. It's very bright, like it's the color yellow, even though the liquid's blue. I really quite like that fragrance. Another one that I really love, I love Teh Matcha, although this one's from Le Labo. You guys have heard me talk about it. The tea note in here, I don't find like the matcha note to be super strong. I mostly pick up on like vetiver and fig, but it's definitely there. There's like this warmth to it, and I think it's like this kind of figgy version of the Thé Noir 29 from Le Labo, which is another scent I really love. I don't think it actually has like a tea note in it, but it has like a hay and also like a tobacco, and however those kind of combine, I definitely pick up like a black tea note in that fragrance, and I really enjoy that. So I feel like, especially in terms of like black tea over green tea, I would be more interested in fragrances that have that mixed with woody notes, maybe vanillas, like again, kind of the other things that I know I like, as opposed to like patchouli or other notes I maybe don't as much. Definitely a note that interests me, kind of gets me excited about a fragrance. Okay, I'm in the same like look, but this clip is coming in a little bit later. I was like, there is no way that Thé Noir does not have black tea leaves, and it does. It doesn't say it on Fragrantica, but I went to the website and it says that it has a black tea extraction, but then it also mentions the tobacco and the hay note. So anyway, just wanted to correct myself really fast. And I don't know, it just wasn't sitting. I'm like, what? And yeah, it makes sense that their ode to tea would include a tea note. Okay, anyway, back to the video. And then last on my list is whipped cream. I think that this note is, first off, fun as hell, right? Like I'm already intrigued if you say that there's a whipped cream note in your fragrance. I want to smell it. It's probably going to be paired with vanilla. I really like a lactonic note in a fragrance, so like anything with even just milk or an accord, like a lactonic accord, I'm definitely wanting to try out. I absolutely love the way that the whipped cream comes across in the Zadig and Voltaire. This is her perfume. I just absolutely love it. It is sweet. It is creamy. There's something still, to me, kind of fresh about it though. It doesn't weigh you down. It doesn't make you feel like heavy, and I think that's what's so fun about the whipped cream, is that you can get this sweetness and kind of this richness while it still has like an airy quality to it. It doesn't have to be just totally sticky ooey gooey, you know what I mean? So I love it in this. I also love it in Ariana Grande's Cloud, which this also has a coconut note. It has ambroxan, which is another one of my favorite notes. It's definitely sweeter in here, although there's kind of this medical note in this fragrance that kind of cuts some of the sweetness and the gourmand quality of this, and I find that kind of like throws you off and kind of keeps it airy as well. I know that sounds like a lot, but I know a lot of other people have definitely smelled this kind of plasticky medical latex gloves note. Like you've smelled this as someone walked by in a hospital or something, but that's just the actual fragrance. I like that though. I like that. That's kind of how Baccarat comes across to me. I don't know why I like that, but I do. So anyway, whipped cream, definitely one that I look out for. But obviously with any of these notes, whether I dislike them or don't, it's not only about them. These are like small indicators of a perfume, but really it's about everything that's in there going together. And if I'm having too many of the notes that then I kind of know, then I know it's probably not one I should work too hard to like get my nose on or something, if it's going to be out of the way or hard to do. Whereas if it is something that I'm seeing like a fig note, a whipped cream note, which I forgot to mention this one. This is one from Imaginary Authors, Yesterday Haze. It has fig, iris, cream, tonka, tree bark, walnut bitters, and orchard dust. Like, yes. All of those things sound amazing to me, and they work so well in this fragrance. So yeah, when I'm finding fragrances like that have a lot of notes that I tend to really enjoy, that's what gets me excited and has definitely helped me as I've been like, you know, wanting to try new things or going into even like more niche brands that aren't as readily available. So anyway, I'd love to know what fragrance notes get you excited, that you really love in fragrances, and maybe some of the ones that you can't stand, that you've learned over time you want to stay away from. Of course, if you want to see a part 2 to this, I can definitely do that, so let me know. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.